wrestling fans, it's Wrestling Revolution Keaton here with a very special guest, a wrestling royalty legend, Dave Finlay.
Hello everybody, welcome to Greeenisland, where the wrestling started here out in the garden here in a ring way back in the 60s.
How did you first get into wrestling?
Well, I was in the Boys Brigade, probably have heard of that, and I was 15 or 16. There was a guy called Sammy Goodell, and he was a gymnastic instructor. As well as that, he showed us how to wrestle. So that was way back in 1952. I first started to wrestle. So we wrestled each other there. So when he left after a year, with nowhere to go, but in 1957, I got married. And Evelyn and I went to Canada, and the YMCA had wrestling there, so I joined it there, amateur wrestling, Olympic wrestling, if you want to call it. So it started off from there, and when I come back here to Northern Ireland, and there was no amateur wrestling as such, but there was a gym in Sandy Row, and it was run by a guy called Darky Arnott. So to get into this gym, you had to go on with the best shoot wrestler, what they meant submission wrestler. So I went on with him now, and I done all right. The guy said to me, "You come back next week now." So that's really how you get into wrestling. So I got more into pro wrestling rather than the amateur wrestling, which I always liked. And then I just went on to train guys your age and younger to do amateur wrestling. So we were very, very successful at that, and producing, I know many British champions were produced at your age and younger. And we've done 4 Commonwealth Games as a coach, and my students were at these games as well. So it's just went on and on, went 30 years. But funny enough, I wanted to be a boxer. My father took me to a boxing club, and my brother Billy, who was a good referee with joint promotions, and they wouldn't let me box because I had lost my eye when I was a child. But down at Carrick YMCA, I sparred with them all, and I was able to beat them all, even though they wouldn't let me do tournaments. But we're wrestling, I get into wrestling. If you could stand up on your 2 feet, they would let you wrestle now. It didn't matter what condition you were in. So I was successful at that, and all my kids and students, boys and girls, we were top of the food chain up to a few years ago I just retired then and handed over to one of my students, was Jenny Kitson, so she's doing it now with amateur wrestling.
Who do you think the best local wrestlers were in years gone by?
Well, I would say there was a guy called Darky Arnott, Noel Darky Arnott, was technically very good and a good submission wrestler. And another guy called Tigger's Own Realms. He came from this, it was on the Shangle Road. There was this particular gym, and all these guys were in there, and they were doing catch wrestling, catch as catch can wrestling. You know, going around submission and stuff. So they came from that background. And there was another lad called Jimmy Rogers and Eddie Hamill. Everybody knows Eddie Hamill.
Yes.
He was a good lad, a good wrestler, top of them. So they would be the ones who were skillful and good submission wrestlers. So when my kids came along, they were able to do pro wrestling, but they were able to do submission wrestling, Wendy and them all, so that nobody could take advantage of them.
Where did wrestling take you to?
Amateur wrestling got me. I was All Ireland Pro Wrestling Champion way back in '82. But my love was the coaching people and teaching them, boys and girls and stuff like that there. But to be a Great Britain team coach, I took a team to Austria, and 4 Commonwealth Games I was coaching. So I done fairly well out. And a number of Northern Ireland teams we took over, we were successful.
What was your debut match?
Debut match with a guy called Jack Flash Serlo.
Yes, you faced Jack Flash earlier.
Yep.
He was in World of Sport, wasn't he?
Aye, and Jack Flash Serlo was in Newry Town Hall way in the 60s. So that was the first guy, like, we became good friends. But when we went in the ring, like, it was hell for leather. You know, he was a boxer, a good boxer, and a good lad. Like, he was a good wrestler.
How did you promote your promotions?
Well, we promoted them ourselves, and we've done our own posters, and we've done a lot of adverts in the paper as well. But come the summertime, around all the country parishes, most of the local priests run these festivals. They were in the big marquees and stuff. So I thought, right, I'll go for them. So I went round all the, Anna and my late wife and her went round all the country and everywhere. And we were in all these festivals. And they went there and put the ring up, and it was lucrative, like, we just got whatever money we wanted, like. So we done down the Prairie, down in Benburb and Moy, and down that way. So every year we had this, and it didn't have to do any advertising at all, like, they done it all for you. So that was quite lucrative. And then we done our own shows in some of the leisure centres and sports clubs, like we used to do. We were not sectarian at all. We went into the Loyalist Club in the Shankill Road, and then went up to the Crumlin Road Star up in Ardoyne. So, and we were all over the place, and across McLean and everywhere.
There was catch wrestling conveyor or something in the Shankill Road.
Yeah.
Is that still there?
No, it was Boundary Street. This was in it was a bodybuilding gym, and they done wrestling. So all these guys that were good shape and good bodybuilding, Arnott Dargar was good shape, like. And they done that, the catch as catch can wrestling in there. You were in there, if you couldn't stand out of pain, like, the thing about. But also there was a Short and Horns built airplanes here way back in the 50s and stuff. They had a wrestling club, but it was only for people who worked in the Short and Horns. But this guy, Darky Arnott, he got into it because he was that good, because he would have taught them, like. So I would have said Arnott was top of the food chain for a long time, you know, promoting the wrestling. And a very skillful wrestler, I say, like. But when we went around all these parishes and the festivals there, you know, and there was plenty of punching going. Sometimes the time we get into the ring, like, we're the parish priest giving us this punching. So now they brew this out of barley or wheat or something, or potatoes, and they cook this stuff, and then they bottle it, and it. I think it was using airplanes for their fuel as well. Like. It's illegal. They call it Mountain Dew. You know.
That doesn't sound nice.
Yeah, no, your teeth would fall out when you drink this.
Who was your best match against?
Oh, Eddie Hamill. He worked on the judo in Hamill. We were in Newton Ards and Town Hall or wherever it was there. And a reporter came to us and he said to us, That was the best match I ever seen. I see no reason why these two guys are not on TV now. He says that's the best. They've done a big spread in the Newton Arts Times or something. So Eddie Hummel would be the best match, and Jimmy Rogers and Derek Arnott. So you learn a lot off these guys, you know, and they give you good advice.
Do you ever bring celebrities onto your promotions?
Yes. I brought Giant Haystacks here.
Did you actually?
Giant Haystacks. And I brought Adrian Street.
Isn't Adrian Street a wrestler in WWE?
Yeah. And Adrian Street wrestled on Joint Promotions on TV way back then, so he dressed up like a female, but he was far from being female. And Les Kellett I brought over as well.
Yeah.
And there was the Borg twins. They weren't very well known. I brought them over. Marty Jones. Yeah.
One of the best.
So.
And I also met a wrestler who said, if you're from Northern Ireland and you're a wrestler and you haven't got trained by Dave Finlay, you're not a wrestler.
Yeah.
That's what someone said to me. Were you a heel or a face?
I was just a straight, hard wrestler, like, you know, and there was quite a few when we went up to the Buffs Club and places like that were very close in, and this one was stabbed her cigarette out on my back and stuff like that, so she thought I was a villain, like, you know, but probably I looked like a villain anyway, and then I would be turned villain after being cigarette stuck down your back.
Ooh.
Everybody wanted to climb in the ring and get you, you know, so.
Did the world of wrestling change for you when it went on TV?
The world of sport, when it finished on the TV, like, all these guys had nowhere to go, like, you know, the wrestlers. So everybody started to do their own promotion over, especially a guy called Oric Williams, and he would be the biggest promoter over there for a while. And so I didn't wrestle much in England. So all I was here, I was doing amateur wrestling and pro wrestling. So no time I would have come across these guys one time, like, you know. But they knew me as the Great Britain coach. Yeah, I mean, I many British champion, about 10 British champions in amateur wrestling.
How big did wrestling get in Northern Ireland?
Big, well, it was really big way back in the 50s. The guy called McConnell, and he was a promoter here, and he done the promoting in the Ulster Hall and the King's Hall. So in the 50s, he would have brought over there was no wrestling here, he brought everybody from England. And like Kellett and the Royal Brothers, and he was, George McConnell he done promotion of boxing and wrestling. So that was the way in the 50s, and I think there was just an odd one from here, was a guy called Cassidy. It was Cassidy. He would be the only wrestler from here, would have been on the show, but the rest were all brought from England, who'd have come in a Liverpool boat, wrestled, and then went away the next day, like, you know, so they were the one, and he was big all over the place, like, McConnell.
You could go back in time, what would you tell your young self?
Well, if I could go back in time, I would make sure that I would get the government here to invest more money in the sport. I was always with the amateur wrestling because the professional wrestling was able to look after itself because they were able to generate a lot of money. But the amateur wrestling, we had to find our own money, and parents had to find their money to take the boys over. But the wrestling here, I made sure both run hand in hand because we done both of them here. One time we were in the Ulster Hall with our promotions, and the next week we were over at the British Championship of the amateur wrestling. So I had them both running together. So how do I make up my mind what I had to do? So I choose just to teach the kids, you know. So That's when I come out of it, like. There was all the promoters here, Roy Lynn, and there was nobody else doing it, like. It just fell away altogether once we left it, you know.
What was your most memorable match?
It was in Londonderry, Derry, with a guy called Mickey Gallagher. Now he was a local boy, and the Guildhall was packed to the doors because they had a good reputation as a tough wrestler, stood no nonsense and didn't give a chance to get up and stuff like that. And he was a clever wrestler too. So it packed the Guildhall, and that was one of the most. 2 or 3 times I went down there to wrestling, like, you know, tag matches and all, but all the single matches, you know. And lucky enough, I came away every time by beating them, you know. So Mickey Gallagher or Mickey Shannon he would have wrestled on as well, like. It'd be Mickey Gallagher one place and Mickey Shannon another place. Very good he was.
Did you ever referee with Wendy?
No, I never. No, I didn't really do any refereeing because I'd have been telling them what to do. Like I couldn't keep my mouth. So, but Wendy had it off to a fine art.
I'm sure you were proud representing Northern Ireland at the Commonwealth Olympic Games. Did you bring any medals home?
Yes. And 82, a guy called Ivan Weir won a bronze medal. So we brought back one bronze medal all the time we've been in it, you know. But we were proud of that, and we're always proud of being the first Commonwealth. There was the great Commonwealth Wrestling Championships, not to do with the Commonwealth Games. And they formed this association, and the first tournament was in Glasgow. And Northern Ireland was one of the countries to set this association up. And it was in Glasgow. So we had 4 from my club representing Northern Ireland on the first Commonwealth Championships.
What's your secret to a long and successful career?
Well, I tell you, my secret's not a secret anymore. My wife Evelyn, who run the whole thing, she was secretary. She was a masseur and looked after everybody, boys and girls. So if I hadn't had her, I wouldn't have been able to go. Like she had the thing running clockwork, you know. So it was down to her and my two children, Wendy and their adult children, Wendy and the son. Like only for them it wouldn't have worked.
Did you wrestling give you any bad injuries?
Oh yeah, I dislocated my knee. Had knee there, and I dislocated my shoulder. Now it wasn't anybody had done it. It was self-inflicted, you know, and I went over on it and stuff like that. Nobody would have done that on me. Like it was an injury through a bad fall. You know,
No, not to.
I'd have got out of the ring like and so. You know.
They were known not to do that in Dave Finlay.
No, I wouldn't get away with that.
I'm currently in wrestling training. What advice can you give me?
Well, listen to your coach. You know, I don't know what sort of wrestling you're doing. What sort of, you're doing amateur wrestling like?
It's kind of like Olympic and a bit of and a bit of the American kind of stuff. It's kind of a bit of both.
Okay. Well, what it is, listen to your coach and make sure you turn up in time and train hard. And if in doubt, ask. Because you don't want to go out of the gym and think, I should have asked him. If in doubt, just say, excuse me, could you show me that again or tell me that again?
Were you friends with Johnny Saint?
Never met Johnny Saint.
Never?
No. Him and my son, Fit, were friends. Like, as I say, I never went to England, you know. I just stayed at home here. During the big strike here, one time we took all our family over to Wales instead. So I wrestled a few over there, right? But not Johnny Saint. Didn't wrestle him. I wrestled a guy called Jackie Apollo.
Oh, I know Jackie Apollo.
Well, I wrestled him. I mean, there's a photograph in there of me and him. Yeah, but El Bandito was a guy called Warwick Williams.
Were you good friends with him before?
Oh, me and him were best of pals.
And you went to his funeral, didn't you?
Yeah,
I saw a lot on the
it
documentary.
was him that said, give us the title of the Royal Family of Wrestling. You know, because they all done so well, like. My son Fit was a good amateur wrestler, won a lot of titles, and when he was an international referee, and she trained the boys around there as well, like, and took no nonsense off them. Brother Billy, he had referee for joint promotions and stuff like that. So if you were a Finlay, like, you were in wrestling now.
How was your dad involved in wrestling? I've heard that he was involved, but like how? Was he a promoter?
Yeah, my father-in-law, he was involved in the wrestling, and my father. Well, the father-in-law, he was a ring announcer, and my father, he wrestled and boxed in the booths way back when they done these travelling circuses. He'd have jumped in and wrestled them out. So he would have challenged all these guys. So he would be the first generation on the Finlay side, like. Yeah. So.
And obviously your auntie too, who was a first ever women's referee.
That's right, Rosemary. Yeah.
Rosemary, I'm thinking of the
Kim
name.
Star.
Kim Star, is that her
Is her name?
Yeah, Kim Star, yeah. All the girly magazines, she was in them all back then. Yeah. I mean, it just boom. And that's who they came to see, like.
Amazing.
And she was up in Albion Street, and I brought her up there and wrestled with her and made her wrestle and say, you need to watch these guys doing all this. She was really good referee, like. Yeah. And when he was top of the food chain, like, it's the amateur wrestling, you know, and she wrestled or refereed with, it was a joint promotion there. Joint promotion was still going, would come off the TV. They were still doing it, but they were what they call dark shows. Yeah. Well, I'm 86, so you're talking somebody that must be the oldest wrestler about, standing on 2 feet. Well, I used that terminology in the amateur wrestling. Spear him, because we would have started off like this and wrestled, and spear him was you would just take a leg from him straight on. Mm-hmm. So that's what you got to do if you're going to do a bit of amateur wrestling. Amateur wrestling. That's Mickey Gallagher there, like I was telling you about. Mickey Shannon. Cheryl.
Oh, Jackson Sheridan.
And Keaton, do you know who the Mad Monk was?
Yes, Bruce Beaton. There he is.
There's Russ
Bruce
Beaton.
Beaton.
Oh, yeah.
He was a man.
That's the picture. That's the picture of the
There's me and Dargy.
Yeah, that's in the Nick Campbell book, so it is.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, there's my favourite wrestler of all time.
You have that, son.
Well, thank you so much. What's it called? Like
Boston Crab.
Yes, yes. Is that on Rey Mysterio?
There's
Yeah.
John Quinn. He was a big Canadian. I don't know what size he was. Like it was.
Do you remember? Did you see the Rey Mysterio v Finlay in the stretcher match?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Finlay should have definitely won that one. Is that you?
That's me there. This was in Germany.
Yeah.
All these were. This was in Germany. It was big over there, you know, a couple of years ago. That's my brother there.
There's young Apollo, Dave Finlay.
There's young Apollo there. Like. There.
When I heard that was so funny.
Boy,
like
in there.
Beer cans.
This was in a nightclub in Belfast. They called it the Piccadilly line, and we used to wrestle up in there.
It's so funny, like young Apollo.
Yeah.
Oh, you hated that?
Yeah.
I know, I heard it in the documentary.
Les Kellett.
Yep, legend. Absolute legend, let's go.
The Mummy.
Les Kellett used to stay here.
That's the amateur wrestling.
Yeah, you are still the Big Daddy. Big Daddy was just a name, but you're the Big Daddy.
You know who that is?
Yes, of course, the Cat Weasel.
What about this one?
John Haystacks. There's you and the putting.
That's Jackie Paulo.
You putting Jackie Paulo.
Jackie
in that
Paulo
one.
on a... There.
And he cried that night.
Yeah, I said,
Did he actually?
you
Never saw
hurt
a
me.
wrestler cry, to be honest.
I said, well, you should stay at home. You don't want to hurt.
Yeah. Your name is Dave Finlay and you love to fight.
Exactly.
When I line of- when it-
I'll show you what we have outside here.
Oh my goodness. That huge crowd.
This is... That there is exactly the same as they use in the Olympics, this mat.
Really?
Yeah.
So do you wrestle there?
Yeah. You wrestle inside the ring there, inside the ring.
And is the chair supposed to be the ring? The
So
ropes?
them's the two. So anyway, you can imagine all the furniture's gone. So we've marked this all out, and then all the amateur wrestlers come here, and they're all going to sign it for me once I get it all finished. So you'll be down to sign this as well.
I will.
And you had us wrestle inside the ring. Once you come out, the match stopped. So
We used to have a real ring in the garden, but that's
Yeah,
gone.
I know. I heard that.
yeah. So
Chopped up for firewood.
Who do you think are the next up and coming stars of Northern Ireland?
From Northern Ireland, that tag team we seen the other couple of weeks ago. I was saying to Fit, like I said, these brilliant tag team, so it was, and the boy before it, the lighter guys, and they were in a small ring, and they had to use that many holes, and I said it was good, pure wrestling, very little gimmick about it, and I thought it was very impressed with it. Like, I said to him, he said, oh, well, I'm glad to hear that now. So I said, if Brogan goes over here, I would stick him in with these guys.
Brogan?
If he comes over, like,
Yeah, Brogan. It was Brogan's birthday not that long ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
I wished him happy birthday and he liked it.
There you go.
so I would have stuck him in there because they seem to be getting them well schooled up there.
Yeah.
Did you remember what I said? If in doubt,
Ask questions. What do you do now you're retired?
I do weight training, and I do a little bit of jogging, and my daughter Wendy and I, we have our own repair shop here, and we make all kinds of things. Whatever it is, we repair it, work it, and we are doing the garden up here. My late wife, she was a great gardener, and we're pulled it all around now, and it's looking great. So that's what I do now, and I enjoy doing a weight training and a wee bit of jogging. People want me to go back, but I wouldn't be flexible enough to do it. Like, and I'm not going to embarrass myself. Like, I can talk about it, but I can't do it.
Have you ever been to any big wrestling events?
In London, Ontario, in Canada, they run big tournaments there. I think it was Count Bartelli and all them guys were there. So it was a good show. Like,
What changes have you seen in wrestling?
it's changed dramatically. And for a while there, it looked like a soap operas, and I thought, that's not for me now. And there's too many acrobats in it. Being an acrobat's alright, but it's nothing to do with wrestling, like. But when you see somebody standing up in the ring for about 10 minutes and somebody trying to get him, so I think it's changed, and that's what people want to see, so probably if you'd have seen our wrestling, you'd think, oh, that's dull.
Mm-hmm.
But our wrestling was full on, and good grapplers, and when people want to climb in the ring and kill you, you've been doing something right. So I enjoyed every minute of it, and it's good to see my adult children doing so well in it. Now my grandchildren are going to do it, doing so well. And my great granddaughter, she's in the ring now, age of a year, is she? A year? She's a 2-year-old, so she's got a singlet on her now. So no doubt when she goes to school over there, they wrestle and she'll be wrestling surely. I just hope that Brogan gets signed up, you know.
Same. Why would you like to be remembered?
I'd like to be remembered for showing somebody a sport that wasn't heard of in Northern Ireland. The only thing was heard of was pro wrestling. I introduced Olympic freestyle wrestling way back in 1968. So I introduced the sport, and I'm quite pleased with that. And I've created so many good characters of that, because we have one of my students, he's a managing director of the Ulster Museum. We have quite a few in the armed forces, in the security forces, running their own businesses, and I'm so proud when I meet them, and I say, what are you doing when I'm this sort of thing? So they're all had got this foundation of respect for people and hard work. So when they see me, they say, thank you very much for what you've done, and it should have stayed longer. So I'm really pleased I helped somebody along the path.
Thank you for having me, Dave. Brilliant interview. Thanks very much, son. Thank you, and hopefully I'll see you again next time. Bye for now.